fun?
Are we recording?
Do you want me to unrecord?
No.
Oh,
I can.
Because I have
You have a story?
no, I just have to vent.
Oh.
And I feel like I need to get this out in public.
Get it out.
This weekend is the worst weekend on the planet for the state of Nebraska.
Oh.
Is it?
Fucking junk johners.
Oh my God.
I had two people pull out in front of me.
You don't understand the rage that I've had the last 2 days. Oh my God.
Yeah, because you're on the road all day.
Oh my God. I'm on the road. I just want to get my patient seen. I want to get my job done. And it takes twice as long. And the idiocracy of, so many people.
You know,
For a person that already may slightly have a little bit of road rage the way it is, you put junk john on top of it. Oh my God. I every year I say I'm taking this Friday off. I'm going to take the Friday off of junk john. And it's not because I want to go. It's because I want to keep my ass at home so I can avoid everybody.
have you flipped anybody off?
Oh, I didn't actually physically flip anybody off, but boy, was I cussing. Oh, my God. And I did honk once today. She's just dead us stopped.
Yeah.
Right there.
Gawkin, stop. How do I get there?
And you can't, the streets they've got cars parked on each side, so they're narrow anyway, so you can't really go around. There's so much traffic coming and going. She just stops, looking, gawking. Had to be at least 3 full minutes. And when you're waiting to go in traffic, 3 minutes, that's a long time. Honking the horn. Oh, my God. Then, following this flatbed full of stuff piled high that's somewhat strapped on, and I get this old metal gas tin that comes flying off the back and bouncing up towards my car. And I'm like, yeah, great. I'm going to get killed by a junk piece of junk. Literally.
You know, with all the traffic that's out there, I thought that we would have been busier. But we really haven't noticed anything in the store.
They don't want to come buy new at a junk weekend. They want to buy old trash.
I figured people's trailers be breaking down, vehicles be breaking down.
Oh, there's still tomorrow.
Well, I dread tomorrow. We did have one vehicle broke down next to our store. Our stop sign has not been run over yet this year, so that's a plus. Normally, it gets run over every year.
Of course, I wasn't really in town much because I was on the road, but was there any sirens, any accidents? I'm surprised if there wasn't.
You know, I've never, even in years past, haven't noticed like an uptick in accidents, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
Considering the number of people that even come into the store and say, holy shit, man.
Huh.
Yeah, the driving is bad. It's very bad.
Yeah, people have lost all sense of, rules of the road.
No turn signals work. People are slamming on brakes. People are pulling out in front of people.
It's crazy.
And there's we don't have the only junk john. So I heard today that Kansas started their own junk john. Oh. And I can't remember if Highway 37 or something like that they said, but it spans, I don't know if it's the entire width of the state or if it's just a portion, but.
Oh, boy.
Well, they're in for some fun down there.
God bless them.
Yep, have fun.
I mean, I get it. Like, I used to, when the kids were little, I did garage sales all the time. I mean, when the kids are little, that's what you got to do when they're growing out of clothes really fast or toys and whatnot. But, oh, my gosh, as an adult, I've lost all patience for any of that.
Well, the junk john here isn't like it used to be. So it used to be basically just a bunch of garage sales with people just getting rid of stuff that they don't want. Now it's turned into like an antique type of a thing.
It's almost like flea market-ish type.
Yeah, it's like what was the show where the guys would go around to these farms and businesses? And,
Antique Roadshow.
Yes.
No, not Antique Roadshow.
No.
What was it?
They were out of Iowa.
Yes, what was that called?
I can't remember.
I can see both of their faces. One of them passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But that's what it reminds me of now.
Yeah.
Is everybody thinks that they're going to find the next like pot
American
of gold.
Pickers.
American Pickers,
yeah.
that's it.
So
Yeah,
now
I love
everybody's
that show.
American Pickers in central Nebraska.
Frank is the one that passed away.
Was he the short one? The
Yep.
little one?
Yep.
Huh.
I think he died of cancer.
Oh,
Well, they had a falling
Rest in
out
peace,
between
Frank.
those two.
they did. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know
Interesting.
what happened, but yeah, there was some sort of a falling out, and I think the show it ended. Well, it ended now, but I think it ended before that Frank had passed away.
Wow. Yeah, that was a good show.
It was interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
I wonder how much of that shit is set up.
No, there's still a show.
Is there?
Yeah.
Who's on it now?
The same tall guy. And then there's 3 more people, 2 guys and a girl.
well, yeah, because I was going to say they had kind of a team where they sometimes would split up.
Yeah.
And I know there was a girl that was with them.
Says they're in their 27th season.
Wow.
And people still watch, apparently. I didn't even know it
Still
was
treasures to be found.
a thing. Well, not in Nebraska.
Mm.
God, what a shit show. Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else
I
exciting?
swear I need to be prescribed some blood pressure medication after this weekend because holy moly.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I'm just glad I work inside all day. If
Yeah,
I was on
me-
the route
yeah, that's.
or on the road,
It wouldn't bother me if I went inside and did an office job. I was inside, but I'm on the road and trying to go place to place. It was a nightmare. I suppose it depends on what town you're into. We just happen to be kind of right in the middle of it all.
Well, I don't have any exciting stories.
Well, I mean, that really wasn't exciting. I just had to vent my frustrations.
I started remodeling Marissa's kitchen, and I really suck at it.
He does not suck at it.
I suck at counters. I suck at countertops.
Okay, come on now. You've got to have that positive attitude.
I positively suck at it.
It's just taken a little longer than we
It's been frustrating.
I feel
had
like
anticipated and wanted to.
I think that's how it always goes with home projects.
Especially when you're not a contractor.
Yeah.
And your house is, I don't know, it's probably 80 years old, I suppose. And we bought it. Never buy a house from an electrician.
Who continues to think that he is an electrician when he's 80-some years old.
It's been so bad. We had a wire that come out of the wall into the back of the cabinets, down the backside of the interior of the cabinets, then back through the cabinet, back into the wall, and then up to an outlet. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out why the fuck that wire wasn't just run through the wall. And I wasn't going to tear the wall out and put it where it belongs, so I did the same goddamn thing. But I at least put junction boxes in there so you can pull a drawer out or open a cabinet door and disconnect the wires.
And we also have an outlet in the living room that in order for that outlet to work, it has to be plugged in downstairs.
You'd have to see it. I found this outlet in the living room, and it's right next to a light switch. And it didn't work. The light switch worked, but the outlet didn't work. I was like, well, that's weird. It must be maybe a breaker or something. So I went into the basement. None of the breakers were tripped. So I found where the wire was coming down into the floor joist into the basement. And so I'm following this wire down the floor joist, and it stops with a 3-prong plug on the end of it. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And it was hanging by a wire next to an outlet. So I just grabbed it and I plugged it into the outlet. I was like, well, surely that's not it. And I went upstairs, outlet worked.
Oh my gosh. That's funny.
So, yeah. Apparently, if it's your own house,
Just
fuck it.
fix it. Yeah, just fix it the way you wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, should we kick this thing off?
Yeah.
Get started.
Let's.
It's, how much research did you do on this?
Not a lot.
Not a lot? I did a little bit.
I mean,
Did you listen to the Serial podcast?
no, because I had to subscribe to the New York Times, and I refused to subscribe to the New York Times.
Just to listen to her podcast?
You could. The first 2 episodes were free, and then you had to subscribe to the New York Times to be able to listen to the rest. And I ain't subscribing to them
Why?
at all because they're shisty. New York Times is corrupt.
I don't know. I didn't listen to the podcast either. I watched the documentary.
But how did this one? So how did this one come about to us?
I originally saw it on, I don't know, a couple years ago. I watched it as a documentary.
Okay.
And it popped up again, that same documentary. HBO Max there was an update in his case, and they uploaded, whatever you want to say, a new episode as an update of his case. And so that is recent. It's just brand new within the last, I don't know, couple weeks or so.
So what we're talking about, just so anybody listening actually knows, is we're talking about the murder of, is it Hae or Ho?
Hae.
Hae Min Lee. And she was allegedly, at least initially, they suspected murdered by her boyfriend, which was Adnan. Is that how it's pronounced?
Adnan
Syed.
Yep. And so these are a couple teenagers out of Philadelphia. Is that right?
No.
Baltimore.
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 And,
okay.
yeah, they're high school students. So they were, I believe, seniors in high school.
Yeah.
And so they've been dating for approximately 10 months. And one day after school, this Hae Min Lee disappears. She was supposed to pick up, I believe, her niece or something like that, but she never picked up her niece, and she never arrived at home. And so they began looking for her, and I don't know if it was like a month later, something like that.
She disappeared January 13th of 1999, and then her body was discovered February 9th of 1999, so just under a month.
Yeah, so her body was discovered by a guy that was supposedly stopped on the side of the road and went into some trees to take a piss.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly he come across the body.
Right.
So the police continued to investigate. Ultimately, their suspect was Adnan Syed, and he was arrested for a murder. Goes to court, and actually the first trial was a mistrial. And did you hear why it was a mistrial?
No, I don't. Well, I don't remember if I
So,
did.
Adnan's attorney at the time, and her name was Christina Gutierrez. So she was in a sidebar with the judge, and the judge had made some sort of inference that she was a liar or lying about something, and the jury overheard it. And so it was declared a mistrial.
Huh. No, I did not know that.
So then they had a second trial. He was convicted of all charges. So there was like murder, kidnapping, was it theft or burglary or something like that. But ultimately he was sentenced to life plus 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So years go by, and he files I think it was a motion for like some sort of an appeal for a new trial.
Well, and this whole time he's declared his innocence. This whole time.
Yep. To this day.
Yep.
So he hires another attorney, and they do I don't know if it's like a motion or an appeal for a new trial, because apparently there was a witness that he had that supplied an alibi that he was in a library with her at the time that law enforcement alleged that the actual murder took place.
Right.
And that his attorney failed to call that witness. And so he's alleging that his attorney didn't provide a proper defense.
Right. I was going to say misconduct, but it's not misconduct. It was, what do they call it?
I have no idea.
There's some
pretty
term when basically your lawyer's an idiot.
Incompetent?
Well, I mean, it's, yeah. I mean, when your lawyer doesn't do their job for you and doesn't research or do anything, yeah, I think it's like incompetence of
I don't
attorney.
know what the hell it's
yeah,
called. But
I can't remember either, but some term like that where basically he's filing a motion, yeah.
so it went to the court, and I don't know if it was just the district court in that area. And I think that they said yes, I believe. They did. So then it was appealed by the state to an appellate court, and the appellate court upheld that decision for a new trial.
That was in 2018.
And then it was appealed again by the state to, I believe, the Supreme Court. And I don't know if it's the Supreme Court of that particular state. I don't think it was like the U.S. Supreme Court. But then that court overruled the two lower courts and said no. So
That was a year later in 2019.
So he remained in jail. And then was it in 2020 or 2019?
Deficient.
There you go. That's the word.
So anyways, in 2019, 2020, something like that,
Right.
he has another lawyer. So this is the third attorney. And also in the meantime, there's politics gets involved because I think that the current attorney, like the district attorney or whatever that represented whatever he lived, was up for, I don't know if he
election.
Was,
yeah.
he was going for an election.
Well, I thought it was a female.
Well, there was a bunch of people running for that office.
But you're talking about the one that was running for the mayor of Baltimore.
Well, he was running for the mayor.
He was running for the mayor of Baltimore.
And then there was other people that were running for maybe
She
his
ran-
position.
Yeah, she ran for...
Was she district attorney?
Yeah, she was the attorney
Yeah.
for city of Baltimore, state of Maryland.
So that would be
state of Maryland.
That'd be district
Yeah.
attorney then.
But during the campaign, she never mentioned whether she supported him getting a new trial or was against it. She never said. But before we get into maybe what happened after that, maybe we should go back and talk about the initial trial and talk about kind of the events, at least according to law enforcement and witnesses, that took place.
Sure.
So, Adnan had a friend.
We'll be right back.
Not only are many trying to remove us from our constitutionally limited Judeo-Christian ethos republic, more seem to be forgetting our Judeo-Christian Constitutionalist foundations. Not here at Constitutionalist, we talk about all these things: the past, the present, the future. Biblical community, Judeo-Christian ethos, the whole Bible, biblical community, not worldly communism. And there is a big difference. Join us, Constitutionalists.
Yeah, and I feel like so. Just to back up a little bit, I didn't mean to interrupt, but yes, Adnan and Hae were dating, but a couple weeks before she was missing, they actually broke up, and she started dating someone else.
Yep. She started dating a guy by the name of, and I wrote it down here. Don. I thought I wrote it down. I was sure I did.
I don't know what his last name was. No, it was Don.
Maybe at this point it doesn't matter. Donald Didnitz, I don't know. I'd murder that name, but anyways. So she starts dating somebody else. They had split up. And according to a witness or a friend of his, he was upset about it, which anybody be upset. But he said he was going to kill that bitch, I think is the words that the friend used. And I'm not even sure how they got to the friend, because law enforcement brought him in for a witness. And I think was he in trouble for something else?
Okay, so to back up a little bit, there's a few characters in this story. So you've got Adnan and you've got Hae. Then you have friends of them, which one's name was, oh gosh, who is the guy that
Jay Wild?
Jay? I was gonna say Jason. It's Jay. Jay. And then you have Stephanie, and then you have Kristen. You've got a few players in here that all kind of hang out together. But Jay and Adnan were kind of not necessarily close friends, but they were weed friends.
Yeah, pot buddies.
Yeah. So I don't know that they necessarily would have hung out on a day-to-day basis, because Adnan, I think he was pretty popular. He was a nice kid. The kids at school described him as just being kind of an all-around good kid. Got along with everybody. He was athletic. Not the type of person that would be affiliated with Jay, because Jay was kind of hood rat, so to speak.
And Adnan was he was Muslim, and his parents were pretty strict with that religion.
Yep.
And Hae is she's Asian, but I don't know what
Yeah,
she had a religious.
I don't know.
They may have been. I don't know what they were.
She's Korean.
But according to the Muslim religion, he couldn't have a girlfriend anyway. So that was another thing, and that was her problem with him, is because he wasn't, according to his religion, supposed to have a girlfriend. They kind of had to hide their relationship.
Yeah, and I think it was the same for her too. With her ethnicity, her parents didn't want her dating outside of their ethnic religion or ethnic background, whatever, so to speak. And so for both of them, they were both hiding this from each of their parents separately.
Sure. But I think he hid it more, because I don't even think he was supposed to be around or even talk to girls, really.
Right.
Yeah, because he discussed how at prom they were, had to take his picture because he was crowned prom prince and, felt uncomfortable that this was going to be documented, because I don't even think he was really supposed to be at prom.
Yeah.
So
that led to the breakup.
yeah, she didn't want him to have to choose between her and his religion.
And she's the type of girl where, I'm just gathering this from the information that I read or heard. She's keeping a diary. She's writing everything down. But in her diary, you can tell she's wanting that boyfriend-girlfriend experience. She's wanting some attention. She's, as any 18-year-old girl would do. She's just kind of expressing it a lot in her diary, where she wants somebody to dote on her and love her and pay attention to her and not to be in a secret relationship.
Sure. And I think they want to be friends, or at least she wants to be friends. It's, according to Adnan, he wanted to be friends, and he was maintaining a friendly relationship. Now, understandably, maybe he was upset with the breakup.
Yeah, and I didn't really hear from anybody that there was any animosity between the two of them. Was there?
As a matter of fact, I don't know that now, granted, this is from a documentary, and I think everybody knows how I feel about those, but at least nobody in the documentary said anything about him making any comments that seemed to be violent,
right?
Or that even during the relationship that there was any sort of a violent acts, like arguments or fights or anything like that. Maybe some normal stuff, but not like he was beating on her or anything like that, or beating up any other students.
Right. And yeah, as a matter of fact, then they, all the kids at school, even teachers, they were all shocked when they heard that Adnan was a suspect for her murder, because they just couldn't believe that he would be capable, because he was such a nice kid.
I think there was maybe one teacher that said, "Oh yeah, he did it."
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
But just the one that I saw interviewed anyway in that particular documentary. But ultimately, of course, she comes up missing. She's found by that person that I don't know if they were on a break from work or what, but went into the woods to take a piss off the road and discovers her body. Somebody had sent a message to law enforcement that they needed to be looking at her ex-boyfriend, Adnan. So I don't remember how law enforcement come to interview the friend, which was that Jay Wilds. But ultimately, he does get called in for an interview. And at least the portions, and here's the other problem with documentaries, is they can be good at cutting up and pasting together what you want to hear. But at least in the documentary itself, and in some of what I read and hear, it almost sounds like law enforcement, I don't want to say told him what to say, but kind of fed him some information, and he built his story off of also what he was hearing. So according to law enforcement, the reports and even the court documents that I read, supposedly he had told this Jay Wilds that he was going to kill that bitch. And so he's going to loan Jay his car and his cell phone, which to me is weird. Why would you loan both? But anyway, so apparently Jay has the car, has the phone. I don't know if he has it during the school day. And there was some sort of I don't know if it's a rumor or what, but that after school, that Adnan was going to get a ride from Hae to pick up his car. That apparently changed. What reasons, I don't recall, or I don't even know if they really touched on it too much, but
I know what the new episode said, that the plant, his car was in the shop. He was still friends with her. He had asked her to give him a ride on their lunch break.
Maybe that's what it was.
To go get his car on their lunch break from school. And then it got rumor milled that it was then after school that he asked that. But in actuality, he had track practice after school, which I still can't wrap my head around because this is January, and who has track practice in January? Evidently Maryland does.
Sure.
I don't know, but
Well, I had some questions about that too, because now supposedly he, at some time, and this is where I'm a little bit fuzzy. If it was, did he leave at lunch? Did he leave directly after school with Hae Min Lee? But they go to the parking lot of, is it a Best Buy, I believe? And that's where he strangles her, supposedly. And then he calls his friend Jay Wilds and says, hey, you got to meet me at this Best Buy. Now, this is
2:30 in the afternoon.
2:30 in the afternoon?
Yes.
So this is where, to me, I try and wrap my head around this. It doesn't make any sense, but, I didn't see the location, the exact location that supposedly took place. But so Jay Wilds goes and meets him at this Best Buy. And he says, hey, you got to see this. And Adnan pops the trunk, and there's Hae Min Lee dead in the trunk, which I'm thinking, who in the middle of the fucking day pops the trunk on their car and says, hey, check out the dead body?
see, yeah. The whole story stinks
Yeah.
to high heaven. That's coming out of this Jay's mouth, and I feel like he's a dope head and he doesn't want to get in trouble, and so he is trying to spit out all this crap to the police so that he's not
And that's what I'm wondering, is if
a
he's trying to get out
suspect, and
of
he,
trouble for something else.
yeah, trying to get in trouble, out of trouble for just petty drugs, probably. He's a kid. I mean, these are teenagers. They say and do stupid shit, and they lie out of their teeth when they think they're going to be in trouble, when it would have been so much easier just to tell the truth, and you would have been in a lot less trouble if you just came clean. I feel like that's what this kid was doing.
I kind of think so too.
Yeah.
So anyways, they go driving around, and they're trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do with this body, or what they're going to do next. And they stop at a friend's house. Some gal, I think her name was it Christy Benson?
Christy.
Yep. And they hang out at that house for a little while. But then eventually he's got to go back to school because suppose he's got track practice, and he wants to at least go to track practice so other kids and teachers or coaches, whoever, see him there. As an alibi. So he makes an appearance at his track practice or goes, and then after the track practice, he gets back with Jay, and he asks Jay to help him dispose of this body. So they drive around, they find a spot, and Jay alleges that he had told Adnan, well, I'm not helping you carry her. So Adnan had to carry her out there by himself. But then Jay says, but I'll help you dig the hole. So they dig the hole with shovels. That's one thing that I don't understand is, did they find the shovels? And where the fuck did the shovels come from? Did they stop at the house and grab shovels? Did they stop at Home Depot and buy some? I mean,
I thought they came from Jay.
Well, you think Jay would have provided the shovels then afterwards. But I don't know. Maybe he did. I never saw that on, any of the documents that I found. I certainly didn't see it in the documentary. But anyways, they bury the body and they leave.
They bury the body in a hole that's 6 inches deep, too. That's what he told the police. Oh, 6 inches. Really?
So,
okay.
So this supposedly, if he left, let's say at lunchtime, and he kills her, they're alleging that she was killed around 2:00.
Yeah,
what they said?
2:30. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she's buried. I don't know what, 6, 7 o'clock maybe. Let's say it's 8 for good measure, but.
I thought I saw on that timeline around 7:30 p.m. or something they were thinking.
Yep, and that's important because something comes up later on about just that amount of time on why that is significant in his defense. Mm-hmm. But it's not brought up in this court case, at least in the one that he's convicted. So anyways, then they leave. The body's found a month later by a guy who's supposedly stopping to take a leak. And that's that. So that's kind of the gist of the story. This Jay Wilds testifies and tells law enforcement and the judge and everybody on the stand that, he did it. He told me he did it. I helped him bury the body, so on and so forth. And ultimately he's convicted.
It's just completely wild to me that the police take the testimony of one person.
Sure.
One.
And
don't ask any questions. I feel like they didn't ask any questions of hardly anybody.
No,
I mean, they did some, but
they did bring in a supposedly an expert witness that had to do with the cell phones as well. So apparently,
they screwed up.
They did. So apparently, they had subpoenaed some records from AT&T, and they use the cell phone records kind of like they do today, where they ping it off towers, or they can tell where the cell phones have been, where they've made calls, received calls, and locations. However, we get into some other reasons why they think that this case is all botched up. And one of them is those cell phone records, because there was a cover sheet from AT&T that said the accuracy of the location of the cell phone is only good for, was it outgoing
calls,
incoming calls. And the two calls that were the most significant in obtaining the location where the body was built were incoming calls.
Right.
Which the cell phone company said, at least in the cover sheet, are not accurate. And that was never provided to the expert, who later then said, well, I wouldn't have testified the way I did had I had that information. So that's one of them.
Yeah. A couple of questions that I have from the very beginning is, supposedly if Adnan asked to borrow Jay's cell phone, and then Jay is the one that's saying in his interview to the police, by the way, which had changed like 3 times. Like he had said 3 different things. First, he was at Christy's house. Then another time he was somewhere else at his house. And then another time he was somewhere else, which he changed his statement according to where these pings were off of the cell tower.
Sure.
But why are they just, I don't know. I just felt it was weird that they're getting the location once Jay has his phone back. Why didn't they get the location when Adnan borrowed his phone? It just didn't make much sense to me.
Well, and it seemed, at least one of the things they brought up in the documentary, is that as they were questioning Jay, they were maybe leading him with the use of the map of where the cell phone was.
Right. Yes.
So basically saying, well, on the map it pinged here. When were you here? Instead of just letting him run with whatever story he was going to go with.
Yep. And so then that's when he came up with the story of that, oh, yeah, I was at my friend Christy's house. Well, in actual reality, somebody had logged those pings wrong in the location. In the very, like, they had to evidently subscribe them, or they had to transpose them from one area to the next, and they transposed them wrong. And so the actual ping was listed in the wrong area on the actual map. And so then when they found out their mistake, then he had to change his story again and say, oh, no, yeah, then I guess I was home. Like, it was all complete bullshit.
Yep. They also they said, at least in one of the court documents that I read, that one of the things that that bothered them about Adnan when law enforcement talked to him is his story changed. But the part of the story that kind of changed kind of makes sense to me, because first he had told him, I was at school at this time, and then, maybe I left school, or right after school I had track practice, went to track practice, and then I went home, or went to a mosque, and then went home, and then I was with my dad while I was at the mosque, and then later on he changed the story to, well, I really don't remember. Well, if someone were to ask me or anybody else, what were you doing on Wednesday 2 weeks ago? I have no fucking idea. I know I was at work. I couldn't tell you even what I did at work that day.
Especially if nothing happened and he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And that's the kicker, is that he, to me, acted like, well, he said a lot of, well, I would have been doing this, or if it was this day, I would have been doing this, and I would have been doing this, and I would have been doing this, as if he's playing out his normal routine, which is what he was doing, because he completely convinced me that nothing unusual happened that day. And so he's trying to run through his mind, okay, it's a Wednesday. This is what I typically would have been doing on a Wednesday. And that's why they were suspicious of him, because he was so vague and he couldn't tell them exactly what he was doing. Well, you're right. I wouldn't have known either.
Yeah. So I could tell you that last week, that when I first got to work, that I, unlocked the doors and I went and clocked in, and I grabbed some papers off the printer, and I went to the back room to see what kind of freight came in, and I probably checked off freight. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, one of my other employees came to work, and he opened the store, and I moved the freight to the front so everybody could sort out what they had ordered for their customers.
Right.
But I couldn't tell you what the hell came in.
Right. It's just, and the other thing is that there was also holes in the story that I think it was Stephanie or Jen. There was a couple other female friends that supposedly they met up with her, or I don't know if this was the friend that they were at her house, but it ended up that particular day she would have been in class and she wouldn't have been home. So they couldn't have been there, because ultimately she wouldn't have been home that day. She had class in the evening.
And she didn't even remember that until somebody pointed that out to her, because
Yeah, until they showed her old class schedule.
So I feel like, a lot of, when you're a police officer and you're coming to somebody 2-3 weeks later, maybe even months later. I mean, she wasn't even found till a month later. So then by the time they get to questioning everybody, there's several weeks have gone by. If nothing out of the ordinary happened, then
I can tell you in a law enforcement investigation that witness statements is probably the weakest part of your investigation because you're relying on first on somebody's memory.
yeah.
And memories are freaking terrible. So what you should be relying on is other forms of evidence. So whether it could be cell phone records, it could be video surveillance, it could be something like
DNA. Dun, dun,
DNA.
dun.
Yeah. So apparently, this is kind of where I think the case against Adnan starts to unravel a bit, at least due to that podcast was with one DNA. So they had collected DNA, but they didn't test any DNA. And so that leads someone like me or anybody watching to wonder, well, why wouldn't they test the DNA? So you wonder, did they not test it because either one, they thought their case was so solid that they didn't need to, which is no excuse. You should always, if you have DNA, test it. Because at least when I was in law enforcement, if I'm going to go to court, especially if it's something as serious as a murder, somebody steals a book bag, that's different. But a murder, every piece of evidence you collect, you analyze, you test. I don't care if it's a fingerprint, if it's DNA, if it's cell phone records, if it's video surveillance. Yeah, there's going to be some witness testimony. But I want all of the other stuff because that's the solid stuff. DNA don't lie. Cell phone records, for the most part, don't lie. Neither does video or any of that other stuff. Like, I don't know if you call it hard evidence, but relying on memory or a witness testimony is garbage. That just kind of corroborates a story or a case that you're building.
Well, and I feel like that's all they went on. And they just laser focused on him, and that was it.
So,
I just feel like, well, are we dealing with, again, lazy law enforcement? Or what is why? I just don't get it. Or is it because he was a different culture, different ethnicity that they just didn't give a shit?
well, you got to wonder because in his first case, when he's in a bond hearing, the prosecuting attorney brought up that he's Palestinian. Well, of Palestinian descent. He's actually a U.S. citizen. He was born here.
Yeah.
So, and then she made a deal about, well, these Palestinians are always killing their girlfriends and then taking off back to
He got
their home country where they're hidden, which is bullshit. That never happens.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, he just got railroaded, like totally, I think, in this case.
yeah. So another piece of evidence, we brought up earlier, the fact that if she was killed at 2 o'clock or 2:20 or whatever, and then found at 8, and it has to do with lividity.
Mm-hmm.
So, and how the blood pooled in her body did not match how she was found, because I think she was found on her back or on her side or something like that.
Yeah,
But the
on her
blood
back.
had pooled to her face, to the front of her body. And according to a forensic pathologist, that takes 8 hours to set in, to where it's set and it stays, to where then it doesn't matter how you move the body, the lividity is going to stay in that portion.
And she had like a pattern.
Yeah, she had a pattern, like a diamond pattern.
Some kind of
like that.
weird pattern. So they said she would have to been
Sure,
leaned up against something or laying on something.
Yeah, it's
in that
basically
area.
set. I guess you could compare it to set like glue or concrete or whatever. That while it's in a liquid form, like blood when it's in a liquid form and you're moving the body around, a deceased body, the blood's going to then move because it's still liquid. But once it begins to solidify, wherever that body's at, that's where it's staying. It's not liquid no more. So you can flip that body back over in a different direction. It's going to stay where it's solidified.
Mm-hmm.
And it's solidified in a portion of her body that didn't make sense
To how they found her.
to how they found her.
Uh-huh.
So that was another piece of evidence that, they didn't really bring up.
Yeah, and there was also a rope found around near her body, and then some kind of bottle, like a liquor bottle, like a mini alcohol bottle
Yeah.
that was found near her body that they didn't test for DNA either.
Sure.
And even the, not the coroner, but the medical,
Examiner.
yeah, who does autopsy, said that she could have been strangled with a rope. She didn't
see that part.
specify. Yeah, she said she was strangled and it could have been a rope. There happens to be a rope laying within feet of her body.
Sure.
Did they test it for DNA? No. I
So,
don't even know if they collected it.
so the DNA, or at least some of it, was ultimately tested. Actually, I think the only thing they really tested was a shoe. Now, this is much, much later. This is after the conviction. This is when they're working on maybe getting him a new trial or getting something overturned. But after they did the DNA testing, they found none belonging to Adnan. Matter of fact, I think the only thing they found, at least law enforcement, was a handprint on like an atlas book or something like that in the car. But they were boyfriend-girlfriend before that. Of course, he's probably going to have some fingerprints. Now, there was a page apparently torn out that had the location where she was found on that particular page. However, they didn't find any fingerprints belonging to him on that. So it makes you wonder, well, and they did find other DNA for, I think, 3 or 4 other people on the shoes that didn't belong to Adnan and didn't belong to Hae Min Lee.
Huh.
So, and they never, that was another thing, they never really looked into other suspects.
No.
So that brings us to one of the suspects, and that would be the person that found her.
Right.
So as a guy, I can tell you, if I stop along the side of the road, I'm going to go take a leak, and there's a bunch of trees, I'm probably going to go like 10 feet into the trees. I'm going to go behind a tree so people on the road don't see me. That's it. Where Hae Min Lee was found was between like 50 and 100 yards off the road. I can tell you I'm not walking the distance of a freaking football field to take a leak. Into the trees, and the trees are like right off the road. So it's not like he had to walk 100 yards to get to the trees. The trees are right there, like within probably 50 feet, 20 yards. So you're not going to go 80 yards past that
No.
to go take a piss.
No.
So that, I wondered right away when they were on that part of the documentary, I was like, why the hell did he walk so far into the trees? And then come to find out, this guy is a real piece of work anyway.
Well, and then the witness of the woman that was driving by in her car, and this naked man happens to come out from that exact area and starts beating on her window.
Yeah.
Which happens to be this guy.
Yeah. Who is later, after the murder, was ultimately arrested for a sexual assault.
Is his name Alonzo or something like that?
Yeah, it is Alonzo. It's Alonzo Sellers.
Yeah. So, hello, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, why not look at him?
Exactly.
And
you have a drive-by witness who I think ultimately did she take a picture of him? I want to say
she did.
Took a picture of him.
That was after the fact.
Yeah, that was after the fact. She was a postal worker.
Right. But in the same area, in the same park, I believe.
Yeah. Well, and it gets even weirder yet because
Which makes you wonder.
They found her car after they found her body. So this entire time where she's missing, they also don't know where her car's at. And so they find the car after they find the body, and the car is parked in a parking lot behind
This guy's
Sellers'
family's
house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, matter of fact, his family's house is the closest house to the car.
Well, the point I was getting at is, you know how some serial killers, I think maybe even Ted Bundy may have done this. I don't know. I can't remember. But they actually go and perform necrophilia. So if this guy is in the same park in the same area, you wonder, Is he going back to her? And, you know,
I don't know. And we'll never know because they never did test his DNA.
I mean, it's just crazy.
And I think to this day they haven't tested anybody else's DNA. Supposedly it's still an open investigation. And one thing that we haven't gotten to is, so they tried to get those other trials or a new trial, and all that's kicked out. And we mentioned earlier how there was going to be a new prosecuting attorney. And so that DA or whatever is elected. And she moves to, I think, what were they? It wasn't dismiss. Was it dismiss, I think? Reverse it to where he's, reverse the conviction.
Right.
So after this is where it gets really, I kind of feel bad for the kid. So they reverse the conviction, basically do away with it. So now he's not a convicted criminal. He gets out of prison. And then Hae Min Lee's family.
And this is based off of the fact that there was no DNA found on.
Yeah, no DNA.
So she decides to rule that they're reversing the conviction. So you're right. Then they
in
let he
2022,
gets out of prison. They let him out of prison.
his conviction is vacated,
And then
and they drop the charges.
Haman's family then comes in and says, whoa, wait a minute. You didn't give us ample time or warning that this was going on, and they refuted it, basically.
Yeah, the conviction is reinstated in 2023.
Yeah.
Because of that. And the judge said, yeah, okay, they're right. Yeah, we didn't give them sufficient notice of his.
So they reinstated the conviction. However, they basically said, well, at a resentencing, we're just going to give you time served. Right. So he gets to stay out of prison because he was in prison for
23 years.
23 years. He went to prison when he was 18? He's
17.
17?
He was arrested when he was 17.
So he's 40-some years old when he finally gets out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, and we didn't talk about the other suspect, which is her current boyfriend.
Sure.
His name is Don. He's 20. He worked at a lens crafters.
Where she worked. That's how she met him and started oohing and on over him and infatuating over him. There was some there wasn't a whole lot mentioned about Don other than the fact that there was some shady action going on with his time clockings. And if he was really he claimed to be at work that day. However, there was some suspicious time entries on this time clock. And at a different location that he normally doesn't work at. So he was scheduled or supposedly went into work at a different location as a lab tech, and there was already a lab tech. When they talked to the manager of Lens Crafters, there was already a lab tech working that day. I can't talk. So he wouldn't have known why.
Yeah, because
Don would have
they
gone
mentioned
in.
they would have not had two.
Right. And then the whole thing with this time clock is, they're assigned an employee number, and that specific day he was clocked in under a different employee number. And it just so happened that his mother was his manager at Lens Crafters.
I've read somewhere that his dad owned Lens Crafter.
I don't know. I just know his mother was a manager there over him.
She was a manager.
And so there's just wondering if there's somehow she doctored the time clock. They did say that supposedly with this time clock system, you could only make changes to it within so many hours or so many days, I should say, of the next pay period. And so she would have had to do it fairly soon after Haman disappeared. And so it was almost like, okay, did he come to her and say, hey, I need you to clock me in, as an alibi? He did it right off the go, before police even questioned him. So, I mean, there's just that kind of stuff that the police didn't look into either. That, didn't really give Adnan a fair trial.
No. And to be honest, I can't say whether or not he's guilty or not. I tend to feel that he's not, but I can't say, and the reason I can't say is because law enforcement did a terrible job with their investigation. So
Right.
I've really got nothing to go on
Right.
other than witness testimony.
Exactly. All you can go by is instincts. And, my gut's telling me that this Jay is trying to save his own skin. And so he's pulling a bunch of shit out of his ass and saying all this stuff. And like I said, at the time, he's a teenager. So he's not really aware of what his consequences of what his words are. And, I just feel like because of his ethnicity, he kind of they didn't care. I don't think that's my gut. They didn't really do a thorough job because they got their guy.
Well, and my gut
didn't really, I don't know. It's how I feel, but.
So my gut feeling is similar. My gut feeling is a lot of times in law enforcement, there's some pretty big egos. And you begin investigating a case, and you're pretty confident that you got the guy. And if you let your ego get in the way, you tend to ignore and overlook some pretty important evidence. Mm-hmm. And in this case, what I think may have happened is they wanted to believe that they had the guy because of the conversation they had with Jay. And so once that they were convinced that they had their guy, they felt no need to continue testing, which is backwards, because I can tell you that if I had gotten a confession, let's say from a witness, where a witness told me what Jay did, I'm going to want to make that, anything that he told me solid by backing that up or actually using his statement to corroborate other evidence that I find, such as DNA or any fingerprints, maybe some cell phone stuff. So I'm going to want that stuff because I want to go on there with a solid case. The other thing is, when I arrested people, it wasn't really necessarily personal. What I really wanted was just the bad guy. Mm-hmm. And I would have felt like shit if I had a case like this and I put somebody in prison for potentially the rest of their life and had some DNA evidence come out that proved that I was wrong. Mm-hmm. I would feel awful. And personally, I would reverse course. I mean, I would probably come out and say, man, I feel bad about this, which I didn't get from law enforcement or the previous prosecuting attorneys in this case. Yeah. They seem to just want to keep fighting it and fighting it and fighting it instead of saying, well, maybe we fucked up, because it doesn't do the victim any good, because you certainly want to, in a murder case, you definitely want to find the right person because you don't want them to recommit. Mm-hmm. You also want to serve justice to the family of the victim.
Yeah. In this case is true example of confirmation bias. They just, they picked him, and then every piece of evidence was just going to be skewed to point at him. And I feel like that's what they did with Jay's testimony.
Well, they're only going to look for evidence that would support their case at that point.
Yep.
They're not going to look for all of the evidence. They don't care about all of the evidence. They just want
which
the
is
evidence
why
that
I feel like
supports their case.
I feel like that's why originally they didn't test their DNA. I don't know.
Well, I think you're right too. I think they felt. I don't want to come out and say that they thought that maybe the DNA would disprove their case. Certainly could be the case. Mm-hmm. I think they were so cocky, they thought, don't freaking need it.
Right.
What a waste of money, because it is expensive to test DNA. And I get that. It's also a murder case where you should be testing the fucking DNA. Who cares what it costs?
Yeah. So the good thing is now is he is going to have a new trial.
No, he's
No.
done.
He's not.
Yeah, he is
No.
done.
He's done. So they
I thought they were going to
reinstated.
actually go back to try to clear his name.
Nope, they reinstated the original conviction, and what they decided to do was just do a resentencing. And when they did a resentencing, they just said, time served, you're done.
Yeah, I get that, but I feel like there's a new trial coming.
I don't know that there is.
On March 6, 2025, a judge reduces Syed's sentence to time served.
Right.
So it said, reduces it sentence under Maryland's Juvenile Restoration Act, which allows offenders who committed crimes as minors and served at least 20 years in prison to be resentenced. After considering the entire record, the court concludes that the defendant is no longer a danger to the public. So he receives a new sentence of time already served, roughly 23 years, although his murder conviction still stands.
Which is kind of fucked up.
Where did I hear that they were going to try to, and maybe it's a civil suit that he's going to sue
I don't know.
for wrongful conviction?
I
I swear I heard that from one of the
I don't know.
podcasts I was listening to.
The thing that gets me is I did see where they said, well, we're continuing to investigate. I highly doubt it. Because if they upheld the conviction, there's no motivation for that agency to continue
To keep looking.
No.
to keep looking. And I guarantee you that their excuse is going to be, well, we still feel we have the right guy. The conviction was upheld. We're not going to use our resources to continue any sort of an investigation, which I think is bullshit.
Yeah, because there was a statement that came from the family that said, if the new information comes out and proves he's innocent, we will apologize.
Well, the two other suspects or two other suspects that they have are currently in prison. And so it'd be pretty easy for them to go collect DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Go figure.
at least as far as I know, they haven't.
It could have been one of the podcasts I was listening to that I feel like, and I can't remember. I wish that's why I should write stuff down.
And it could be because it was just this year, I think, that in 25 that they upheld the conviction and
Yeah,
released him.
March.
So
Yeah,
it's still
because-
pretty early. I mean,
Yeah, he's out and he's I think speaking at university.
He works for Georgetown University.
University and doing,
one thing that that kid is well spoken. I shouldn't say kid; he's 40-some years old, but
that's why I, in my gut, feel like he didn't do this, just because of he's so well spoken and he's so forgiving.
yeah, he isn't pissed off the whole time.
He's forgiving. He accepted his sentence. He accepted what was dealt to him. And he left there missing his inmates because he became friends with them and ultimately cares for them. He's just
He doesn't seem
different.
like a shithead at all.
No.
So
He totally, the way I, perceive him is how his classmates when he was
Sure.
younger described him.
that's the way his demeanor seemed the whole time. They would talk to him like on their phone conversations, and you listen to how he talked, and I'm sure he's bummed out that he was in prison, but he really talked a lot about his family and how he cared for him and hoped they were doing well. His mom was diagnosed with cancer while he was in prison. But he never seemed to have this like anger, grudge.
No, it's amazing at how, what a raw deal he got, and then how he came out just not bitter.
Yeah. So that's probably maybe another reason that I kind of in my gut think that maybe he didn't do it because I just never picked up anything weird. Not like the last case we discussed with what was that goofy weirdo? The one that oh geez, it was only a week ago. See, memories are garbage. Memories are garbage.
Cheese and rice.
The guy
Who
that-
did we
heck
listen
did we
to?
talk about a week
Okay,
ago?
let's pull this.
The guy that
up.
killed the gal that worked for Auto Trader.
Oh,
Stephen
Stephen Avery.
Stephen Avery. That freaking weirdo.
How could we forget him?
Yeah. So his demeanor is
been a
completely
week.
different. So
Oh, yeah. Totally different. You
So
could tell he was lying through his teeth.
even in the first documentary where I thought, gosh, maybe this guy got shafted, he was still a freaking weirdo.
Yeah.
So
You can tell that I can tell vibes from people. Like if somebody's giving me a off vibe, like I can sense that.
have I ever killed anybody, Jamie?
No.
I killed a spider right before you got here.
He's killed me with his good looks.
So now that we know that Marissa's full of shit.
Good one, Marissa.
God.
Funny.
It's a compliment that we're laughing at because we all know it's bullshit.
No. She wouldn't want it any other way, right?
Correct.
See?
Correct.
Correct.
So what are we thinking? Anything else we want to add on this one?
No, it's just I feel bad for the kid, you know.
I do too. It's one of the few that I kind of want to see maybe some follow up down the road.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to him, to be honest.
Can you imagine if this is a Karen Reed trial back in 1999? You know, we just didn't have all of the.
Yeah, how's her stuff going?
Oh my gosh, this is going to be so fun.
This could be maybe something we have to discuss on a.
I think
later
so.
one, too.
I think we're going to have to touch base on her new trial coming up because boy, oh boy, is it going to be fun.
We could have a few interesting ones coming up. It could be Karen Reed. There's probably going to be some Charlie Kirk stuff.
Yeah.
Probably multiple.
Well, Diddy should be sentenced in October.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Diddy.
Oh, yeah.
He won't get nothing.
No.
You can read the writing on the wall in that one.
Yeah, that really got quiet. Mm-hmm. What else is coming up? We are still, for anybody that's seen our social media, we're still going to do something on Franklin. That one's just going to be a long one.
So
and it's
yeah,
complicated.
the Franklin cover-up, the Franklin scandal, that's a deep dive.
Yeah.
And it's very convoluted.
I think we've already come to the conclusion it's not going to be just one podcast on that one. It's going to have to be broke up into a series.
But the reason I want to do it so badly is because it takes place in Nebraska. It is a known Nebraska case.
Well,
I don't want to say case because it's not necessarily a case, but it's a story. And I feel like there's not a lot of people that even know about it.
And it deals with child trafficking, which still goes on, which is still not talked about nearly enough.
No, but there was just something that went down in Omaha this last weekend
I heard that.
with child trafficking. So it might be a good time for us to pull up our bootstraps and dig
Kick it in the
into
ass
this
a little bit.
Yeah, and dig into this story because if stuff is circling now around again about it in Omaha, maybe it would be a good time to do it.
I'll have to get my ass
Definitely,
going on this
everybody's going to have
kitchen.
to tune into that one because it's so interesting. If you're from Nebraska, I mean, it's doubly interesting because
Well, I think if you're not from Nebraska, because it also involves
True.
federal government. And,
right, politicians.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
But to be from Nebraska and know that this happened here,
And I don't think a lot of people do.
I don't think a lot of people do.
Tens of people are going to know once they hear it on our
That's right.
I didn't know about
I
it
mean,
until you
it's-
guys started talking about it.
I mean, ultimately, it's bigger than Epstein. Truly.
At the very least, it's pretty damn similar.
Yeah, it just happened in different decades.
And the outcome is similar. Well, kind of. So Epstein really didn't
Kill himself.
No. Although, with the Franklin story, there's not one player like there is a Diddy or an Epstein. There's not one. There's several.
Yeah, it's like a whole fucking web.
But one of the main players is Child Protective Services.
And Boys Town.
And Boys Town. So,
It'd be interesting.
it's going to be a fun one.
Well, should we get off this thing?
Yep.
All right, well, we'll catch you next time.
Go watch the football game tonight.
Maybe.
Anyway. All right. See you later. Bye.